Good morning. My name is Eno Awotoye. I'm the coordinator for the Retail Action Project. And this is a worker center for New York City retail workers who are in retail and other industries, allied industries. The Retail Action Project rallies non-union workers in New York City to improve opportunities mostly for workers here. Our membership is diverse, consists of workers and job seekers from immigrant, low-wage, LGBTQ2+, and other marginalized communities who already face a lot of job insecurities. Now, when size discrimination is added, the impact is devastating. We asked our members if they or someone they knew had experienced size discrimination. Most of them answered yes. Today, I'd like to share the experiences of two women who would have liked to be here, but because of childcare and concerns about their privacy, they asked that I share their experience without their names attached. The first one, initial TM, is a luxury brand specialist. And she shares, after enjoying over 3 years of highly rewarding job opportunity, I had gotten pregnant and started to put on some baby weight, which did not affect my productivity at all. At first, I got some friendly advice to watch my weight, to remember that I was representing a luxury brand. By the time I got back from having my baby, I got moved around so much, eventually, I ended up in the stock area. I lost my commission because of this, and because I no longer fit the image of the company. It's very hurtful to be judged unfit or incapable just because I put on weight. CF is a sales associate, and she shares, I had added some weight when I took time off to raise my family. On my return, I found it very hard to secure a job. At screenings or interviews, there will be questions or comments about fast-paced work environments and if I could cope. I started to realize that my weight had something to do with my difficulty in finding a job. It was very stressful. Eventually, I did a phone interview, and it was successful. I was hired and given a start date. At the orientation, I was told that I would get a schedule. It never came. Each time I called, I was told that they were waiting for a position to open up. I am still looking for full-time work, and it's been 3 years. It's unfair that we have no protection from this kind of treatment. We all have heard these kind of stories about size discrimination. It's wrong, and it should be banned. The New York City Council should pass this bill, the Height and Weight Bill, and make sure they protect workers, give workers equal access to opportunities, and to ensure respect and dignity of labor. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Tigris Osborne. I'm the chair of the National Association to Advance Fat Acceptance. As the chair of the world's oldest fat rights group, I'm here to speak on behalf of thousands of people who have been part of NAAFA, the National Association to Advance Fat Acceptance, over the last 54 years, and also on behalf of millions of fat people in New York City today, whose lives will become better because of Councilmember Abreu's bill to ban height and weight discrimination. You may not be used to hearing the word fat in the matter-of-fact way that we use it at NAAFA. Those who support fat rights utter the F word, practically, even enthusiastically, as a descriptor instead of an insult. Fat people are people. That should go without saying, but sometimes it does not. We are disrespected or ignored in far too many aspects of life, and too many people believe nasty stereotypes about us. There are uncountable ways that the world harms fat people, and that harm is even greater when we are also Black or brown people, LGBTQIA plus people, or disabled people. Anti-fatness doesn't just break our hearts, it drains our wallets, steals our opportunities, and limits our lives. We're prevented from doing jobs we're skilled at, from living in communities we love, and from participating fully in the lives of our own hometowns because people don't make space for us. And that has to stop. As the chair of NAAFA, I get asked about size discrimination a lot, and often people are very surprised to learn how few places in the world have legal prohibitions against size discrimination. People are especially surprised about this, about New York City, which prides itself as a beacon of worldwide welcome, of opportunity, of equality. Yet we know that at least 2 million people experienced size discrimination in 2019 in New York City. Sometimes it's just malicious, like the person who spit on my friend on the bus in the Bronx and then screamed in her face about how she was taking up too much space. Sometimes, though, it's simple oversight, like a city council chamber without enough seats that are safe for larger bodies. Either way, New York can do better, and you're about to. When the rest of the City Council joins the 30 co-sponsors of INT 0209 to pass this bill, New York will become the most populous city in the world to protect its residents and visitors from size discrimination. I traveled over 2,000 miles to be with you today because, like so many other generations of fat people, I had to be in New York when this city was making history for equality at every size. When the Central Park Fat-In was held here in 1967, or when the first National NAAFA Conference was held here over 50 years ago, this is exactly what those advocates were working towards. The beacon of freedom will shine even brighter in New York City, when it includes the freedom to thrive at any size. Thank you very much.
Good morning. Thank you for the opportunity to testify. My name is Josh Kellerman. I'm the Director of Public Policy at the Retail, Wholesale, and Department Store Union, RWDSU. We represent approximately 40,000 workers in New York. Our members work in retail, including grocery and pharmacy, food service, food processing, distribution, cannabis, building services, warehouses, car washes, agriculture, and we also represent workers in apparel retail and fashion retail. I sit before you today to testify in support of ending discrimination against people based on their body size. In the industries we organize in, particularly in fashion retail, this problem is rampant. Workers are routinely punished for not fitting the image perceptions set by employers, causing both financial and personal challenges for workers. We know that making this sort of conduct illegal won't change these discriminatory practices overnight, but it will provide workers with a route to fight back against the most egregious forms of discrimination and will also help to shift the culture around body shaming. If we can achieve these goals through this bill will be viewed as an important step in the march towards equality. As a union whose members are majority women of color, it is important to highlight the ways that body image discrimination often goes hand in hand with racial discrimination and bias against women. Height and weight discrimination is intertwined with social justice and racial discrimination. Studies show that people of color in the US, Black and Latino, are more likely to be of a higher weight than white people. Black Americans are likely to be on average 1 inch shorter than white Americans, and Asian and Latino Americans average about 3 inches shorter in height than their Caucasian counterparts. Women in America are more likely than men to be considered quote unquote obese, and studies show that women are more likely to be discriminated against men due to their appearance. And this discrimination undermines New Yorkers' ability to earn a living. One study on the issue showed that showed that larger workers earn lower wages and are more likely to be viewed negatively by hiring managers. Larger people's performance is more likely to be viewed negatively by supervisors. Weight bias hurts workers' overall compensation, performance evaluations, and even the quality of the training that they receive. One thing to note is that at unionized businesses, overt appearance-based discrimination is much less common than in non-unionized workplaces. This is because with the union, workers have a built-in grievance mechanism to protect themselves from arbitrary employer decisions. In non-union workplaces, however, there are no similar protections. In fact, employers at non-union workplaces can fire or discipline a worker simply for failing to meet the store's vanity size requirements. This is not right. Intro 0209 will protect countless New Yorkers from blatant appearance-based discrimination. Every single New Yorker deserves the right to a workplace free of prejudice and discrimination, and every industry in New York needs to recognize that good workers come in all shapes and sizes. Please pass this bill now. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions? Thank you. We'll move on to the next panel. We have,
I just wanted to find out, good morning. Thank you for this. This is important. How has appearance-based discrimination affect your day-to-day life?
I want to say that it is based on our appearance, but also there are a lot of actual accessibility things about size and space that affect my daily life. I traveled here from Phoenix to be here today. I know this is not your purview as city council to change airline policies, but I had to purchase 2 seats in order to travel safely and comfortably on the plane. I traveled from the plane to the airport in an Uber, and I had to travel without a seatbelt because they did not have a seatbelt extender that would fit me. When I checked into my hotel, I am fat and disabled, which means that I need an accessible room, but not everything in the accessible room is weight rated for a person my size. So in addition to the sort of daily ways that I just experience judgment, I've been a retail worker. I know some of the things that Josh is talking about. In addition to the daily ways that it's affected me in my work and in interpersonal interactions, there are things like when we go out to lunch after this meeting to hopefully celebrate the good reception that we received here. We'll have to choose a restaurant according to whether we can all fit the seats and whether we can all pass through the spaces inside the restaurant and whether there are public bathroom stalls there that are large enough for us to sit in without the toilet paper digging into our hips on the sides. So really, everywhere we go, we have to think about our size differently than our smaller counterparts if we're wide people. And then, of course, our friends of short stature have the same issue in the opposite direction in terms of having to just think differently about literally everything we do in life because we can't get there and take for granted that someone else has thought about us. Today, we had to work with the Equal Opportunity Office to arrange for special chairs. The testimony chairs are great for fat people, thank you. But the chairs for people who are coming to witness testimony are not always great for fat people. Those white folding chairs are our nemesis. And so just everything we do, we have to do extra planning, we have to seek extra accommodations, and we have to often do that with limited financial resources because of the employment discrimination that we face.
Wow. Well, thank you for that. And the unions, how can this be helpful?
We spend a lot of time dealing with grievances based on all sorts of issues that a worker faces in their day-to-day experience where the employer has unilateral decision-making authority over what happens in the workplace. And so in unionized workplaces, we have a grievance procedure set up to deal with that. Anything that we can take off the table where we're not having to grieve over it is a benefit ultimately to the overall functioning of a successful workplace. So if we don't have to deal with appearance-based discrimination anymore because city council has legislated it, ultimately that's exceptionally helpful to us. It's also something we don't have to negotiate in further contracts to deal with. This wouldn't be an issue we'd necessarily put it, but there are resources that go every single contract towards the grievance procedures. And if we just have less of a sort of onerous procedure because these things have been taken off the table by council, it's helpful.
Wonderful.
So that's something that's just a day-to-day impact that would be very beneficial to us.
Well, thank you so much. And welcome to New York.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rita, for your thoughtful questions.